So welcome everyone to LOA Uncorked. This is Holly.
And this is Jeanna.
And oh my God, Jeanna, listen, we have got the woman in the house.
I know. I didn't sleep and I have popped my vitamins.
It's
this
true.
morning. I'm ready.
It's true. She has no idea.
No.
Okay, so
No.
listen, this woman that we have on, she's a super special human. And I'm going to say, before we tell who it is, she's famous.
They can see her though.
Oh yeah, that's true. Okay,
YouTube
I
Live, they
know.
can
I
see
mean,
her,
I guess they can.
But that's okay. Yeah,
but that's
those who
okay.
can't. Keep going. Keep going.
Thank you for keeping me upright. Right. Anyway, so we love her. I mean, she is fastidious about getting on Instagram and connecting with her followers. She's got her own community, but everybody's in her community. And so we are in Melbourne, Florida. And I'm Jeanna's beach bitch because she's working at a conference and I just supply her with champagne and I play her bagpipes in the morning because if it's good enough for the king, it's good enough for my queen. And then here's the confessional.
Yes.
So we're at the pool in Melbourne and I'm like, oh my God, Lorie Ladd's going live. And so at the pool in Melbourne, we are broadcasting you live and
Getting some rays.
And I was like, can we get her in a month? It was about a month ago, I think. And we were sipping some cocktails. We're like, okay, what's she talking about today? This woman can talk about absolutely everything in a meaningful way, not in a nonsensical way. So we are so excited to have Lorie with us today.
True.
Let me tell you a little bit about her, Jeanna. You already know, but I'm going to tell everybody else. Okay, so she is whoop-de-doo, an author. Okay, we're going to talk about that. But she's a spiritual teacher and a thought leader, and she specializes in the evolution of human consciousness. I love that. Right up our alley. Her teachings and guidance have helped millions of people navigate our current planetary shifts. We're going to talk about that. She's going to diagnose me, I think. Embody sovereignty.
I hope she
has
like
no
a prescription
idea.
pad with
Okay,
her
I
too.
know, right? And remember that the divine design held within the human experience. And here's the thing. Her new book, which is hot off the press, and she's on a junket of some sort. We saw her going to Sedona. And
Junket's such a bad word for that.
Is it a bad
but
word?
It is
it's
what
sort
they
of
call
like
it. Yes. It's all the famous people do junkets, so I want to do them too. But the word
she did them.
branded. Yeah.
She did them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
For
No,
the
she's
divine,
famous.
the
Exactly.
divine design. And she was like, do I prepare or do I not prepare? It was so cute, that nighttime little chitty chat. She has nighttime chitty chats. Listen, when she's usually in bed. Do you remember that? Okay. And so this is her book. And it came to her as a download, which is beautiful, during a sacred land of the Machu Picchu, which she may talk about. But the book reveals the untold story of Earth and humanity's evolution and consciousness. And it provides a much needed tool for navigating our current planetary awakening. And I feel like, I was like, okay, is this book a love story? I'm always like, is it a love story of humanity, or is it just a handbook?
Was it for me? Was it for others?
It's for all of us.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
Anyway, we are so excited because we're all on the West Coast and we don't have to be up early in the morning. That's the truth of the matter. Okay, we're so excited to have Lorie Ladd here on LOA Uncorked. Welcome, Lorie.
I love you too. You guys are hilarious. It's so fun.
Eventually I'll get a word in edgewise, Lorie, and then you'll get to know me also. But until then, I just if you love her, you love me too.
It's so great. It's infectious, your guys' energy.
Oh, I love that. Well, we've been super excited to meet you and see you. So,
and we, as Holly said, we have definitely tuned in, probably more than you realize, and really have felt your energy and passion for your work and your commitment to sharing that with others. And you do that in just a very inspiring and profound way that I love. It's like, you don't like sugarcoat the turd. You just give it to people, and you give it to them out of love. And it's a beautifully well delivered message. So it's great.
It is. And I want to just say one more thing, Jeanna, before we get started, because you start us, and I got to get it word in edgewise, because it's
another
hard
one
for
or
me.
two. Okay.
No.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So the other day, and it doesn't matter when you're listening to this, the other day when you did that short, I needed to hear that. And so it's good to hear when you said, don't give up. And that was your message of the day. And I was talking about giving up. And Jeanna was like, that message. I go, Lorie Ladd today. You know what she said? And we've been following you before the book. But I was like, I'm like, I needed to hear that today. So I just wanted to give you that feedback because we don't get that feedback oftentimes. And you've got a big community, you get a lot of feedback, but I just thought I'd add that because we were just, it was yesterday or the day before or something like that.
So. Yesterday. I appreciate that. It means a lot. And as you guys know, feedback means so much to us, it really does. So I appreciate that.
And sometimes people can be quiet on that. So I get it. And we always want to share it when it resonates for us. So thank you. So, okay, Lorie.
Yes.
We're gonna allow you to get a word in edgewise here. Typically, how we start our podcast is just an opportunity for you to kind of just do kind of the highlights of Lorie. Like, give us kind of like the milestones of your life that kind of would be important underpinnings for people to know before we kind of launch into more of our conversation today. Just kind of like, if you want somebody to know something about your life or how you got where you're at today or the work that you're doing, what really brought you there, what are those underpinnings? And then we can go from there.
I love that question. The pivotal moments. First thing is probably when I was 13. I grew up in Hermosa Beach, California, and had a very awake mom. And I remember at 13, maybe 14, maybe 12, I got this knowingness that popped in that I was going to help humanity move through some sort of evolutionary process. Saving the planet, saving the world. That was kind of like the words, but I didn't really know what it was. I just knew that I was going to be playing a role in some sort of like big event on the planet. So that was like the first sort of really pivotal moment for me. And sort of lived a very normal life from that point forward with this undertone of, as soon as I commit to that calling, my whole life will change. So I didn't really want my life to be different than like the regular people that were around me. So I ignored that call for most of my life and just lived a very normal life, went to college, went to graduate school, got engaged, then ended that engagement and worked in private equity for a while and, did all the like really, basic kind of life stuff. And then 2014, a man came into my life and it really catapulted me into like a really powerful awakening. And it was 2015 when I, on top of a mountain in Mount Shasta, literally kind of put my hands in the air and said, okay, I will commit to what I came here to do. I'll do anything. I will. And I was basically talking to like guidance, my own internal guidance, external guidance, just like show me the way and I will say yes for everything. I will say yes to everything that is needed, everything that is asked of me. I will commit my whole life to it. And that's what I did. And I do that every day, I put my service first and I commit to my service first before anything else. And it's why I'm here on the planet. So, that's kind of the Cliff Note version of how I got here and how I sort of live my life, my life is very,
put your hands up on the mountain.
What was that?
How old were you?
2015. So let's see, I'm 47 right now. Yeah. So 41 maybe? I don't know. Yeah. Oh, I was not a young, I was not
done the normal life for a long time. And now, I mean, listen.
Which is so good for us to hear.
Yeah.
So this is great. That actually is inspiring to hear.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think that, I was doing a session with a woman a couple days ago and I think she had just turned 50. And she was like, I just feel like I'm too old to start my work. And I'm like, girl, what if you lived to 100? You have 50 years left. What are you going to do for 50 years?
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like we have this idea of age and there needs to be some expiration date to when we follow that deeper calling. And it's time now, no matter what that age is. That's why we're here, you know?
And how long ago did you start writing your book? Your book is very complicated. It's beautiful. I mean, I can't imagine that download, how you had to, and I know I've heard you talk a little bit about how do you make this into sense for the ordinary person, which you've done a brilliant job, but it's still hard.
Yeah.
It's intense. Yeah, the book is not my regular teaching. So it was a real strange experience. It still is, because the book came through as what I like to call like a download. So imagine somebody sort of, something outside of you hands you a briefcase of knowledge, and you don't know where the knowledge came from, but it's an absolute knowingness, sort of like you know your name, right? And it happened when I was in Machu Picchu in 2018. I wasn't expecting it, and I didn't really think I was going to write a book. Definitely didn't think I was going to write this book. And it was a labor of not love, commitment, service. And it was really, really hard. It was hard to put it out, because when 2020 hit, I started showing up, in a very practical way, where I was assisting humanity daily. And I wasn't really talking, I was kind of talking about what was actually happening in the bigger perspective, but I was keeping it very easy to digest, not super out there, spiritual, quantum. And the book is the opposite. The book is like,
it's all there.
Excuse me, like, what are you talking about?
Like,
so
it puts you right, it puts it right in your lap, like
yeah,
that big, heavy concept stuff.
Yeah. It was really it was an interesting kind of packet of information that I had to digest and unravel. That was really, really challenging, but
so
also
worth it.
So worth it. So I think this book will, will be something that people will be able to digest as the consciousness continues to rise on the planet.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I think it's something that's going to live beyond. Beyond the measure. I mean, it's not a trendy flash in the pan. It's going to be the book that sits there that you digest and keep going back to. But there's so many practical things in it as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely, I've always been shown and seen it as one of those books that is like, like, it's not like The Power of Now, but it's something that will live through life, and you'll pick it up when you're ready to understand it, and then you'll put it down when you're like, screw this, I don't care. So it's that's the kind of book that I see it as.
It's interesting, because we've been talking quite a bit about older teachings of even just law of attraction, metaphysical stuff, right?
Yeah, ancient teachings.
There are these kind of, ancient's a better word than holy, but like these kind of like institutional touch points that you can go back to and grab and see in a different way, or communicate in a newer, more culturally appropriate way of sharing old teachings, like Francis Shin and the Master Keys, and all these. So I mean, you probably have created one of the more recent versions of that people will go back to over time, and it will give new life, and it will be seen and acknowledged and consumed in a different way than maybe it was when you wrote it. I think this work continues to provide those kind of key touch points, and we haven't seen them in many years. More current touch points, right? So I love that.
Well, and the ascension and the evolution, not only of the planet, but the people on the planet. This is where it gets I'm going to go straight to the prescription, right? So we are all ascending and evolving, and what does that mean for us today? And those of us being on the planet, I believe we chose to be here at this time doing this stuff. And does it just mean we have more shit, or does it just mean we have more shit and trauma? Or I mean, what does that mean? And particularly on the mind and the body, well, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it essentially it creates the illusion that we have more shit to look at, right? Like you're all of a sudden you're like, wait, I'm way more screwed up than I was 5 years ago. What is going on?
It does,
you know what I mean?
A little bit like that.
Yeah. When the awakening process happens, or the lights start to turn on, and essentially more the vibration or frequency in your body just starts to naturally increase. The light gets brighter and brighter. Then, of course, what that means is that everything that you haven't seen, you start to see. And it's really uncomfortable. It makes it seem like you're going backwards. It doesn't feel like this is a fabulous evolution and like, yes, let's keep going. It's like, what is this? Is this actually for our highest good? And like,
right.
Am I going to survive this? And how much more do I have to look at and feel? And it truly, to me, is peeling back and kind of unshackling ourselves from all the illusions and programs and ways in which we have unconsciously been living. Mm-hmm. It can be very subtle things, from like a defense mechanism to a simple limiting belief that doesn't have a massive impact on your life, but it's still there. It's still an illusion that kind of keeps you held back from your highest potential, right? Peace and joy, contentment, abundance, love, acceptance, worthiness, these little key words that we use that, we're all sort of aiming for, but they're our birthrights. They're naturally waiting for us, but we have all of this other sort of density that, or experiences from the past that we have to let go of or release. So that's how I see evolution, really, is that the chipping away, clearing out, becoming aware of, getting more conscious of all the ways that we have been programmed to live on this planet, and having compassion for ourselves in that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's nothing wrong with it.
There's nothing wrong with it. It's good, actually, to start living consciously. And that's what we always talk about, consciously creating your life. Like we're making a choice. But what I wondered, and this is, Jeanna's going to laugh at me.
Get out your prescription pad. I can see she wants you to write her something.
That is not too out there for people to understand. They're like, okay, I get that. I can look at my stuff. And as I look at my stuff, because you never get done with your stuff.
No.
I mean, not in the human life, right? Okay. No,
and I do think, can I just say something really quick? Because I do think we were wired long before 2020 to do that. I think the pandemic and what we just all went through has dialed people, even if you weren't
good point
dialed that way, you're starting to go, ooh, I have choices. Like, maybe I do want things differently. Maybe this doesn't serve me anymore. It just invited some of that in for people who may not have gotten there on their own. So keep going.
Yeah. So I want to go a little out there. Okay. So I think it was during the pandemic. Okay. So I got these blood tests done, and they were like, I mean, I'm over exaggerating for fun of it. Like, you're dying. Okay. But no, like my doctor was like,
she does it normal time too. I mean,
my doctor was like, you've got a disease. Okay. And I'm like, I don't have any disease. I go, let's take my blood test again. Then we took it again, and it didn't look good. And I was like, I don't believe it. I'm fine. I'm perfect. And I thought, I don't believe it. And so I went to a healer friend of mine, and she goes, no, you're just ascending. You're just leveling up. This is going to clear up. And it did. It magically just cleared up. And I was like,
all of her blood work.
It's perfect. And it's been perfect now since 2020. And I'm like, I never believed I had anything wrong. And I was like, well, can the body? And I was like, my friend who does this work, she's a little out there. I love her. And I want to go out with her. Okay. Yeah. Like whoever's out there, I tag along behind them saying, don't wait up for me. Wait for me. Okay.
I'll learn quickly.
I'm behind, but I'm okay. Anyway, I have stamina. Okay. So, Anyway, so I did clear up. So can the body react? Your physical body, is it reacting to these changes in our planet? And is that a good or a bad example?
No, it's a great example. That's a really beautiful example. The physical body. And okay, so I just did a video. Actually, I thought it was long. I posted it, but it only posted 90 seconds yesterday about it's actually not you that's evolving. So it's your body that's evolving. You essentially are not evolving. You are a consciousness, okay, or an energy, a spirit, a soul.
Yes.
Okay. And you imagine that you are sort of this light, whatever you want to see, even a version of you, what you look like now, but you're sort of in the body encased, sort of in this little like bubble. Okay. That soul is experiencing this evolutionary process. The evolutionary process is the body physically shifting from lower frequencies to higher frequencies. And when the body does that, you as the soul, right, that's sitting in the vehicle is like, oh my God, holy cow, look at this and look at that. And look at these things that the human aspect was ignoring. And look at how the body is now feeling all these different things. And look at the power of my thoughts. So it's this observer that's in the body that's watching this transformation happen. So when you think of it from that lens, the body is going to have physical symptoms of these energies shifting in it all day long, right? All the time. And simultaneously, what's so powerful about what you said, which I think trumps the actual physical ascension, is that your thoughts are the most powerful thing.
Right. I love that.
Your thoughts are way more powerful than what's energetically happening in the body. And it can trump everything.
Yeah.
And so both of what you said is true. Yes, you were most likely experiencing some sort of energetic shifting, but because your thoughts were in the state that they were in.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm like, no way are you getting me? Like this is going to come in and come out. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. That state of knowingness will trump anything that could have unraveled based on the energies and frequencies that are moving through your body, the trauma that's moving out of your body, whatever it is.
That's what I love about your community, because I feel like, when I was talking about this gal that helped me with mine, and Jeanna, of course, helped too. She's like, oh, I'm sure you're fine. I'll stop, and have your community that you have and the discussions you have are so robust and help people think. I mean, when a doctor tells you and the tests tell you there's a problem, you kind of believe it. But I'm like, I don't think we should believe any of that anymore.
Well, I love your visual of.
But you don't ignore it either. I mean, I'm not saying. I mean, like I'm.
No, you have to turn your energy and positiveness towards it, not away from it or worry about it. Like you have to, and you stay on top of it. In some cases, the body might be having challenges and that you need to address. But the reality is, our brain and our outlook and the power of positive thinking has as much, if not more, impact on it than anything medically. But I love your visual of kind of like the light inside and a vehicle, and then we're just sort of driving that vehicle through the world.
It's beautiful.
Absolutely love that, and recognizing that while the spirit might not be impacted in the same way, the physical body needs to, and so we need to connect those two things as much as we can to create health and safety along the ride, right?
I mean, if you think about I just got sick for 2 straight weeks, right? And I never get sick. So there's a lot of fear that comes in, and there's a lot of and it doesn't quite feel like a normal sickness, right? So you're like, oof, this definitely doesn't feel like a normal cold. Like, what is this? And so what's happening is, we are learning how, or at least I'll just speak for me. I'm learning how to reconnect with my body in a new way, trusting that my body is this intelligent device that is constantly in a state of healing. I truly believe that the body is like working overtime right now to constantly kind of keep us afloat from not only what we're digesting externally, but what the body is transmuting internally. So it's like this awareness that I have now of just how powerful my body is, and can I trust it? When you get sick, I mean, I was like, oh my God, do I go to the doctor? Do I do this? What do I do? Is my body going to heal? How long am I going to be sick? Like, am I screwed? Is this going to last forever? Like, and so there's a transformation that's happening, I think, for humans, where we are starting to co-create with the body, and can we start to trust that the body is intelligent and that it does know? But you're also having the thoughts that can trump the body's natural ability to heal itself. And, there is still disease and sickness, and there's still these like really real things that humans go through that the body's trying to heal and get rid of, like cancers and, things like that. So it's a complex, it's complex right now with the body, and is it signs of me evolving? Is it actual trauma leaving me? Is it from my DNA, passed on from my parents? And for me, it's less of why is it there? And it's more of, how can I navigate this with the body? What are the lessons that I'm being asked to step into, right? Like,
I love that.
Yeah.
The body's the human
element.
Right?
It's interesting because I've been back to back sick. I'm never sick. And then she got it. And so we're like, okay, what's going on here? But I want to go to what you said about trauma, because one of the things that Jeanna and I have, I guess we've evolved to this through our guests. Our beautiful guests have helped us understand.
Sure.
And maybe it's the evolution that has helped us understand. I don't know. Okay, but we understand that there's more trauma. We've had more trauma than what we ever thought we had, And in one of our guests said, trauma isn't necessarily what happened to you. It was what didn't happen to you that should have happened to you. Like, you should have had a hug, and I never had a hug. And she's like, that's trauma. And I was like, oh my God. Okay. So like, we've been opened up to, now we're like, shit, now I have a lot of trauma. Okay. And you talk about trauma a lot. And I'm like, well, how do I get rid of it, Jeanna? I'm like, what do I do? I'm the one that wants to overdo it. Like, do I have to hang from my head? What do I have to do to get rid of it?
No, so true.
And you do speak so eloquently and write about trauma. And how do we get rid of that?
I mean, I love you. You're like the fixer, right?
Yes, she is.
Like fix.
But I want to fix everybody, not just me.
Yeah. No, for sure. I love it. It's powerful. It's important. Trauma. I'm not an expert on trauma. I just know my own experience of trauma. Yeah. To me, trauma is an external experience that we had in the past, probably hundreds of thousands of external experiences that we didn't process in the moment that it happened. So we didn't process it completely because it was too intense. It didn't feel good. We didn't understand. We disassociated. We freaked out. We froze. It's so subtle. We have a lot of trauma from the last 2 years. So trauma is very subtle. And the way that you don't have trauma, right, that you don't continue to create more trauma from unawareness, is that everything that you experience in life, you just simply feel, right? So if you have an argument with your husband, you just simply feel every single thing that argument creates, right? And if you can just do that, then trauma, which is essentially just experiences that aren't filtered all the way through your body in that moment, it won't build in your body, and then you won't carry it into the future. How do you get rid of trauma now? From my experience, and I'm not a teacher of it, I'm not an expert in trauma, although I live in it all day long, every day. The way that I have experienced my own kind of healing or releasing of trauma is I simply show up every day with whatever is presenting itself. Even, I'll just give you a quick example, right? Yeah. I tend to keep people in my life that aren't necessarily for my highest good because I'm lonely. And so there will be people in my life that I've let go. And then it's like, oh, I'm really lonely. I'm going to reach out. I'm going to bring them back into my life, knowing that that's a trauma response, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, that's a moment of healing trauma because one, I'm aware of what I'm doing. I'll either stop myself from doing it or I'll do it, but I'm aware that I'm doing it. I'm acutely aware of the emotions I'm feeling. I'm lonely. I don't want to feel loneliness. If I reach out to this person, I'll no longer feel lonely, but I know, right? So that to me is healing the trauma. It's not necessarily like, textbook, you do this and then you do this and then you do this. You know what I mean? It's the more that you can observe everything, the faster you will simply just move through the trauma that that just simply shows up. I sometimes people think that trauma is going to be really rattling, right? Or, it's going to break you down, or you're going to, and sometimes, yes, like, I had trauma from a young age, from sexual abuse. And yeah, it has impacted me my whole life. So there's pieces that are big, but typically right now, trauma is just going to arise quite simply just in what are you not wanting to feel? What are you not wanting to see? What are you ignoring? What thoughts do you not like? All right. And so it's not about fixing it. It's about observing it and like literally just watching yourself go through it. It dissolves.
It's like being so conscious that you can see your patterns. You can see.
Yeah. I mean, that is a beautiful gift to give to people. Because I think what I feel like is I'm not trauma. I haven't released that trauma. I haven't addressed the trauma unless it's gone for good. And the reality is it may never be, and we shouldn't want that. And we need to like honor that part of our story. But when you can see it and you can acknowledge it and you can make a choice around it that feels right in the moment, I mean, that will give, it gives me so much grace in my evolution and growth. I can't imagine like our audience listening to that and going, okay, well, if I can just see it, that's growth too. And that's progress and
huge.
That's big, right?
And that's why, and I think I don't want to speak for you, but I've heard you talk a little bit about this and it makes me laugh because
it stalks you, but let's keep going.
because you talk about how, let's just throw some positive affirmations on that. Okay. Let's just, right. Okay. And
Love
you're like,
on it a little bit.
Yeah. And, we'll make that loneliness go away. Yeah. And, like, I'm fine today. Like I'm one for like, I used to have to ask Jeanna, should I feel upset? Okay. Like, I'm not even sure what I feel.
What was that?
And we worked at a corporate job for, almost 20 years. And we come out of a meeting and I go, I don't know. I feel like playing Led Zeppelin, the Immigrant Song. I'm so angry, but I don't know why. Like, that's my angry, like, my angry roar. And I'm like, but why do I want to roar? I have no idea why. What am I feeling, Jeanna? And
what was that?
And I'd have to ask her.
Like, yeah.
I've gotten better. At that. But I would just invite our audience, like, you should feel what you feel, but I was into the whole affirmations and that, we're about conscious creation. So we want to create beauty and love and fun. And we don't want to go down that bad vibrational path of anger or shame or any of that. And so we really I really succumbed to like, well, let's just switch that thought, and what do you say about that?
Well, I think, so here's what's really interesting. I think it's extremely important to have play in the midst of like the anger or the frustration or the sadness. Like I think the reason that we need affirmations or we need to change something or fix it is because we attach or associate to it. Right? So it's almost like I must be this if I'm feeling it. So that's an important observation. Are you attaching to what you're feeling? Like I'm a good person or a bad person if I'm feeling this. I should or I shouldn't be feeling this. This is something good. This is something bad to feel. Like that's important to just start to observe in yourself, because essentially what the sort of higher perspective of being is that when you are simply just, and it's not easy, okay, but because it doesn't feel good, emotions don't feel good, right? But when you simply start allowing yourself through the observer more to just feel what you're feeling, right, as an experience, as something that's moving through you, and I actually think that I think it's powerful that you're like, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling this? I don't even know. That is so powerful. That is like a massive, that to me is one of the most awakened states you could be in, is because you're actually like, what am I feeling? Why am I actually feeling anger? Lots of times trauma will come up for no reason. You won't even know why you're feeling anger. So simply just being like, dude, I don't even know what I'm feeling. What am I feeling right now? Why am I? That's huge. Most people don't even do that. Most people don't do that.
Yeah.
So that is like popping yourself out and sort of really becoming an observer without you even realizing it, right? But the key for me is if I stop attaching to it, which takes practice, you know, you have to actually be aware that you're attaching to it, meaning that I am what I'm experiencing, I am what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Right.
You won't really want to change it, and you essentially you won't need affirmations because you know that you're not it. Does that make sense? So if you know that you're not it, you don't really need it. But because we attach, we need the affirmations to pull us out of the belief that I'm unworthy, right? So then if I believe I'm unworthy, then I have to tell myself I'm worthy, okay? But if you are recognizing that you're believing you're unworthy, okay, you're recognizing that you're believing you're unworthy. Wow, I'm believing that I'm worthy. That is different than I am unworthy, I am unworthy, I am unworthy. Wow. It's like a very subtle difference.
But there's a big difference.
But there's a big
gap
difference.
is big there.
Oh, no,
yeah.
No. So here's the difference. So Holly would always ask me, I have never, ever thought of this before, but I think you're going to agree with me.
Okay.
I'm a big attacher. I feel all of it. I take it in quickly, and I embody it. I attach to it I never thought about that, but I will grab what's being thrown out there, and I somehow take agency of it in a weird way that I had never, but I do.
Yeah, I think you do.
Oh, yes. Yeah. You'd say, that is some horseshit.
I do.
You do not. No,
I don't.
You are not like that
No.
at all. I go, I'm not. Like, we have the opposite.
Yeah.
You're like, what do I
That's
feel?
why
Like,
I'm peanut butter and you're
it.
jelly?
Yes,
Which one? Yeah. Okay.
Well,
That's a good balance.
But it's so true.
No.
No, it's very true. Like, I had never, what a gift, Lorie. I'd never thought about that before. And to try and see it come in and don't attach, and to practice that, let it.
It's like
without attaching your spirit to it, right?
Exactly. And
I want to say something else that you said that's really important for our audience is when I was talking about screaming the Led Zeppelin and asking her why am I angry? You were exactly right. It was trauma. And I didn't understand it then. I had no idea. I thought, I was disrespect. It was trauma from my past that I was still clinging to. Mm-hmm. And once you get a little farther away from it, for me, I could see it clearly that, okay, this wasn't about anybody else. It was about me and a piece of trauma. But that was one of the reasons why I couldn't see. It was because it was from trauma from my childhood that I didn't know. It was just recreating itself for me to say hi.
Under completely different circumstances.
Yeah.
New package, but same old pattern,
Same old thing. And you know what's so beautiful is that what we get attached to is like, am I healing my trauma? Is this trauma? Do I need to look at this? Like we try to understand it when essentially you didn't need to know if it was trauma or not, because it was going to show itself. It was going to tell you later at some other point, right? So all you needed to do was just be curious. Like, wow, I'm feeling this anger, or am I feeling anger? Why am I feeling anger? Nobody said anything that would have triggered my anger, right? But that awareness is everything.
Massive.
It really and I think like the attachment to what we're feeling is such a go-to. We don't even realize we're doing it. So And because emotions are so they feel so much, and the thoughts are so powerful,
Yes.
that the fact that we're even capable of sort of popping ourselves out and becoming the observer is a miracle to me. It's truly a miracle.
Yes.
That we can become the observer. And so for me, it's this moment of like, oh, look, I'm feeling loneliness. I'm going to go and do this thing that's not the best thing for me. And then all of a sudden I'm back in the experience of the loneliness. And then I pop myself. It's like a constant. It's not this like aha moment where you're like, oh, I've arrived. You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly.
It's like you don't arrive. There's no arriving any. Oh, and the other thing I wanted to say really quickly was, this idea that we are done healing, right? It's like, what if we because here's what I've done, especially with my sexual abuse. It's like, it doesn't ever need to go anywhere. No. It never needs to, it's part of my story. Yeah. It's there, but for me, it's not about getting rid of it but for me, it's about how, is it still impacting my relationships? Is it still dictating how I respond to people? Is it still dictating how I feel, right? So it's less about, for me, getting rid of it and more of just simply observing how it may still be impacting my everyday, and that awareness and that observation of it. Because I think if we get attached to getting rid of it, there's a suffering that can come from that. We're not doing it good enough or right.
Right. We're not doing enough spiritual work to get rid of it. And you're right. I kept thinking of, some of my anxious attachment issues and some of those things that I just have to get rid of it. Then I can have a healthy relationship, and you're not going to get rid of it. You just need to observe it and work through it in a different way.
Yeah. Well, and
like, what if it never goes away? What if that's just
right? And if you think about attachment styles, I mean, there's a great deal of Holli's anxious attachment that I honestly admire and think there's a missing for me in my whatever dismissive avoidance, whatever the hell I am. Like, I'm completely the opposite. And there's strengths and there's weaknesses
in both, right?
All of them.
For sure.
So you have to sort of acknowledge there's really great things in it too.
Yeah.
There's in all of our stories, there are positives and there are perceived weaknesses that we have the ability to overcome. And I think that, we talk about conscious creation as a lifestyle on this podcast. That is the intent of this work, is to actively engage in your life. And some of the things you've talked about today, Laura, we haven't even talked about this practice of, a component of energetic hygiene is like pulling yourself up and observing what's going on and not feeling this human impulse to connect to
fix everything. And that's me. I'm like, let's just fix it and get rid of it.
So we don't have to think about it again. Like all these things. And I mean, that would be a huge disservice to us all to do that. It's part of our story. It's how we can connect with other people who have similar stories in a really profound and beautiful way, and help elevate the human spirit and kind of almost decouple it from our soul light and decouple it from this human experience in a way that keeps us up a notch or two.
I love that.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about conscious creation, essentially the way, I don't know why I keep using the word essentially, but the conscious creation to me is surrendering into like a flow state where you're taking this surrendered action, right? So you're detaching from any attachments that you have to even an attachment style. So you're recognizing that you have the attachment style, but it's like, okay, so what next, right? So there's this detachment from it. You're conscious. There's a conscious creation in your life through the observer and the knowingness that you're none of it and that you are free to experience all of it. I mean, truly, the fastest way to creation is when you realize that you're none of what you think you are, right? you're none of what you think you are, and so then there's truly nothing that's going to stop or block your creation. You're super conscious because you're experiencing everything.
Yeah.
And there's this flow state that you start to find yourself in, where even if you bump into a boulder being some sort of limiting belief or behavior or something that just feels like it has to be figured out, fixed, or changed. When you do that, you're really grabbing the boulder and you're stopping flow, as opposed to just like, oh shit, look at that.
Visual.
Right? Like that's a human thing that I've been doing my whole life. Next, though, so that conscious creation is like just saying next to everything, and they're like, just keep going. Keep that vision and that intention of where you're going, of who you are, of what you're becoming, of that version of you that you know you are, beyond the boulders that you keep bumping against. That's the faith of like, okay, I know that I deserve ... or I can have ... or I can be ... But in the meantime, I have to go through this river where I'm hitting all these boulders that are going to try to pull me into these old beliefs, old ways of being. If I simply just allow myself to hit them and keep going, knowing that this is already so, that's conscious creation. That's like, get out of my way. Here I come. I don't care what boulders. I don't care what trauma. I don't care what emotions. I don't care what limiting beliefs. Like, you can hit me with everything. The loneliness that came in today, it's like, okay, so what? I was in it 100%. It's not going to stop me from where I know who I am, you know? That's the power, I think, of truly being conscious and creating in all of this process of evolution, which is like all the boulders coming in to show you what you're still attached to.
I love that. Our visual girl Gina's loving these boulders.
I've seen myself coming down that little river, and
I'm going to use that.
And I go,
I'm gonna like, Gina's just a boulder girl. Okay, like, I'm using that, Lorie. Thank you for that.
Well, we can say about the ones that are placed in front of us, but let's talk about the ones I fucking carry around all the time.
Yeah, you're dragging them.
No, listen, it's amazing. I'm floating.
Yes.
As many as I drag with me, and don't. What is that?
I don't know.
I don't either.
You want me to saw them off you?
I now know.
I will do that for you.
I'm very aware now. I've got,
like, a lot of us will we have bruises because we're just like bumping, right? Like all the time, bump, 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 bump. We're like, damn, this river sucks. And some of us are like, I can barely keep my head above water. I'm dragging all of these boulders as if it's me. And there's also this energy of you have to save people, or you have to be responsible for people, or you have to take their stuff and be like, it's okay, I've got you. I understand. I'm going to hold it. So then you're grabbing everybody else's boulders, being like, look at it. Look at what I can do in this human journey. I'm going to hold all this shit. And it's like,
so true.
No, I understand that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I don't think we've ever had conscious creation even talked about from that, articulated like that. That's so amazing. Thank you. I love that.
Because I do think until you figure out a way to navigate around the boulders and dump the boulders you've been hauling around, I mean, conscious creation is going to be tough to do.
It is.
Well, you're going to be efforting a lot.
Yeah, the effort. Yes, the energy required.
Yes.
To make that
so
happen.
The key for everybody that's like, I have a lot of boulders, or when I'm carrying a lot of boulders, or, the key is to, step one is to just be aware of what you're carrying. And so then it's like, well, how do I know what I'm carrying? It's like, well, what are you either ignoring, right? Or what are you trying to fix or change? Like, what do you think isn't okay in your life? Or what do you think you have to change in your life? Or what do you think you still have to get rid of in your life? These are the boulders that you're carrying. Oh, I need to fix my marriage. I need to fix this. I need to change this. I need to get rid of these emotions. I need to change these limiting thoughts. Those are the boulders you're carrying because you are attaching. You bump into a limiting belief. I'm unworthy. Okay. You sure? Yep. You believe you're unworthy. The key, the conscious creator is like, I bump into that I am unworthy for an hour during my day, but I keep going. It's like, that hurt. That was powerful. That's intense. I keep going. There's nothing to do with it. There, you don't do anything with it. You next, right? Like you just keep going.
Next business.
It's the
Yeah,
next.
you think about the, I think about the boulders carrying around like the body image. I mean, you have to hear body image and how we look and our weight. And I'm trying to sculpt my ass now. And,
I try to ignore my ass, which means it's a problem.
Oh my God. That's for women. I mean, men too. Let's not deny. I mean,
men too. Yeah.
Sure.
Men definitely as well. For some reason, it's more acceptable for men, to be obsessed with their bodies in a way.
Yeah.
And somehow for women, it's not acceptable or healthy, or I don't know. But yeah, the body image is something I've dealt with since I was 6 years old.
Me too.
I think we all.
And it's what I was just talking to my friend today about it, and it's the way that I have navigated through the body image, which is for me, it's the biggest piece that and abandonment. But the body image, when I think about how far I've come and what have I done, because I would love to teach about it, right? It's like, well, what I did was 3 things. I held the version of me that I'm almost pretty much anchored in right now, which is that isn't being controlled by the thoughts anymore. Like, you're not skinny enough, watch what you eat.
Right.
You ate too much today, make sure tomorrow you exercise, so that those thoughts that are all consuming.
Debit and credit system.
Yeah.
Debit and credit system.
We all
I
know that.
love
We're all
that.
old corporate girls.
Oh, the debit and credit system.
Yep.
I saw myself no longer being a part. I knew that there was a version of me that was no longer playing in those thoughts. So I constantly held her there. She was just constant, like, it's okay, Lorie, keep coming. It's okay. No matter what you're thinking, no matter what you're doing, I promise you're going to be right here with me. So I held that. The second thing I did was I didn't change my thoughts. I didn't change them. And I allowed them. If I was in the behaviors, I allowed the behaviors. I was observing though. So it was like, holy shit, this is controlling me. This is powerful. This is convincing me. So there was that observer and not changing anything, because I didn't believe that I didn't believe what I was telling myself anyway. So just be in what you're in, Lorie. And the third thing I did was I had compassion for myself when I knew that I was beating myself up. I literally would say to myself, I love you, Lorie. You're going to be okay. You're going to get through this. I love you. I know you're in this, but you're going to be okay. And so I always knew that it wasn't permanent, that whatever these thoughts were, I would move through. And those are the 3 things that I did that to this day has, really helped me heal those really deep issues around my body. And I'm not 100% out of the clear, but I'd say I'm 90%. I'm a lot better than I was.
And just as a clarifying, because you said you're moving through that with these 3 steps. So your first step of holding the vision, is it you're holding a vision of you being free from these thoughts, or was it a vision of a physical vision? Or what was that vision?
Yeah, it was, I physically saw myself, and I saw myself free. I saw myself living life I saw myself just like loving life and with a partner,
Loving food and
and just free from thinking about my body. I just saw myself happy, free from the thoughts, like living the life that I'm designed to live, where it was a visual. I physically saw myself, but I also felt what it felt like. I knew what I was worthy of feeling in my body. Like I knew I deserved to feel free from the chains, from the prison that I held myself in most of my life around my body. And so that was essential in it. That was key.
I love that. Maybe that's your next book, Lorie.
I know.
You gotta have the bug for writing now, right?
I know. Well, it's been so, like we always talk about, like our own experiences are truly what we're here to share and to teach, and the eating disorder and the sexual abuse and the thoughts, they were most of my life, 41 years of my life. So it's like there's always been this part of me that is like, this is the next big share for you, but because I'm still not 100% out, the thoughts can pull me back. Even this morning, I was like, if you don't stay acutely aware of these thoughts, they will pull you back in. They're that strong.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, just stay aware of the thoughts, stay aware of the thoughts, stay aware of the thoughts. Awareness is way more powerful than changing the thoughts.
And I think that as I think about leveling up and kind of this big shift that humanity is going through, I mean, the human experience is the human experience. But if we can figure out how to manage the thought patterns from our spirit and our soul and what we came here to do and the human experience, and you can keep that gap in a healthy spot where you're not sucked back down into this carrying boulders and all this negative thought process, and you can stay up with your bigger, higher spirit.
Bingo.
Honestly, because here's the thing:
Yeah.
it's if humans, speaking for myself, like if I can't solve it, if I can't get rid of it, I feel like I have to carry it around all the time still, right?
Yeah.
And so if you can realize that you don't have to solve it, it doesn't have to go away.
No.
You have to observe it, stay focused on the higher, and let it pass, and get more practice with the letting it pass and not giving it the energy. I mean,
Yeah.
I have so much hope for myself and the rest of you.
Yes.
If that is all we have to do, and you just have to practice that, sign me up. I'm
Start.
all about it.
I promise you, your life will change if you start practicing that. Because even in you saying it, I softened. I was like, as you were speaking, I was like, like I dropped. My shoulders dropped. Like that pressure came off, because that everything that you just said is bingo. Like 1,000%. Yeah.
Well, I mean, all 3 years of the podcast were very, very,
We've been doing it for 3 years.
Get to this conversation right here. Like, this is like
I
epic,
told you.
Epic.
Yeah. I think whatever mark this is, 58, 57, 56, if you go back and listen to what you just said, I mean, honestly, that is the key to surviving this evolution. What you said is truly the key to it, because it's I can't even remember what you said, but it was powerful. It was so, the ability to observe. The ability to observe everything without trying to change or fix it.
Yeah.
But simply observing it from this point forward, it frees you. It truly frees you. But you have to be aware of everything you want to fix, everything you want to change, and then having compassion for that desire to change and fix it, because it's human nature. And then you just simply practice, like, what if I don't need to change this? What if I don't have to make it easy? What if I don't have to, like, even the idea of, like, what if I don't have to heal anything? What if I don't have to do anything but just show up? And it switches your lens, and somehow it can push you into the state of a surrendered flow state where you're like, oh, okay, let me just be in this until it's no longer here, and then there's something else here. I like to see it as, what's walking around with you, right? So, like, for instance, because people have a hard time not attaching to what they're feeling. It's really hard to do that, right? So it's like, okay, imagine you wake up in the morning and, 70% of the time, 70% of the mornings I have anxiety when I wake up. I don't even know why. I just have anxiety, right? So let's say I wake up and there's anxiety. It's like, oh, okay, here comes anxiety. I know that anxiety just is what it is. So it's going to be here whether it's just visiting. It's like, oh, great. Thank you so much, anxiety. Then I get up and I go and do my next thing that I'm doing. And maybe all of a sudden, like fear comes in or worry comes in. It's like, oh, look at now there's worry hanging out with me. Right. And then I all of a sudden have this feeling of like contentment or like, oh, I'm sort of in peace right now. Obviously, this takes awareness. Right. But then all of a sudden peace is there. I didn't try to get rid of anxiety. I didn't try to get rid of the fear that popped in. I just was sort of like, oh, welcome to walking side by side with me. Let's see, let's go. And then you allow yourself to just sort of have these partners in your day that aren't you, that are just being experienced. And if you don't fight against it or fix it, they just go away. And all of a sudden 5 hours later, you're like, oh wait, the anxiety isn't here anymore. Again, it's this attachment to this idea that you are what you're feeling, that you have to fix it and change it. Yeah. And then it's like, those are the boulders, Yeah.
Oh, I love. Well, because I think of, okay, and you've done the learning and what Holli has helped me see in my life has been substantial. And she's always good about saying, like, well, that's not yours, that's theirs. And that's,
yeah.
I've gotten much better about that. But when
you think it's theirs, and I say, no, it's really yours. It goes back and forth.
Plenty too. And she's, goddamn it, she's right. But when it's mine, I feel this obligation to solve it or fix it or make it, because I feel responsible for it. It's mine, right? Not someone else's. I feel like I have never thought I can just see it and let it go. I've never thought. I thought it was a task to do on a list to fix.
Don't we all?
I carry that shit around all the time in my boulder.
Yeah.
Your notebook is going to be very small now.
It's going to be flowing down the river.
That and yeah.
Good luck keeping up with
I love it.
So good. Oh my God, what a gift. What a gift.
Oh my God. I want to read one of the closing in your book because and then we'll give you an opportunity. I mean, actually could keep you all night and then start with champagne or something.
Yay. I would love to have champagne.
Yeah. So in your book, which everybody should go and get, The Divine Design, you're going to have it on your nightstand, your coffee table. You're going to have it for a long time.
Yeah, a great gift to give friends.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Be your humanness. Devour each of your human moments. What a gift to be experiencing it all. Now, I love what you wrote. It's what you said. It's what it's how you show up every time you show up on Instagram or when you show up. You're human. In your car, wherever you're at, you're just you, and
just modeling the way for us all.
Devour each of your human moments. It's so beautiful.
Oof.
I love that.
I love it. It's one of my favorite parts of the book is the last part. I think it's so important, especially in like more of like the spiritual community, right? We get caught up in, having to be a certain way, show up in a certain way, look a certain way, sound a certain way. And that's defeating the whole purpose of the actual human experience, which is that this is a shit show. This is messy. None of us know what we're doing. We all have trauma. We all are trying to figure things out. We're all trying to control things, right? We all have emotions we don't want to feel. So it's really just being as honest and vulnerable and raw as you can possibly be around all of this. And that to me is the spiritual game, is like just allowing all of your stuff to kind of like just be messy out there. And it's like, yeah, this is who I'm choosing to be in this human journey. And this is my mess. And I'm not going to run from the mess. What's your mess like? Oh my God, this is my mess. Oh wow, your mess is very different than my mess, but bravo for your mess, right? And just making it normalizing that, right? Like just, it's not about like, oh my God, I'm able to navigate this human journey in such a perfect way. It's like, oh no, I don't know what I'm doing, and these are my mechanisms, and this is how I deal, and this is that's the beauty, that's the devouring of the human experience, right? It levels all of us out.
Absolutely. And, and everybody's mess will speak to different people, and all of, as we all become more vulnerable and share, it inspires others to do the same.
Absolutely.
And
Yes.
if we can just get away from this, whatever horse crap line that we've all bought, that we have to be perfect to be loved and welcomed and admired, and
let's control
revered.
it.
And
okay,
so
let's
we're
control
gonna hide
it.
the ugly stuff, and we're gonna push up the things that we think people, even if it doesn't feel authentic to us, what people think is, perfection or happiness, or whatever it is. It's just amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Lorie.
Yeah.
Your work is amazing.
Yes. So, all right, everyone. Thank you so much for.
That was so fast.
Do we have to let her go?
I know. I mean, we've got like literally 3 pages of questions, and we got like 2.
I think we had 2.
But we had the best conversation. I love it. And I do want everybody, we're going to link your Instagram and your community, and then you've got Untangled on YouTube, and then you've got your Patreon, I guess, community, and we'll link all that so that they can keep track of what you're doing. And I think you're ready for that next book. I mean,
and
think of how much you heal
we
people.
would love to have you back. I mean,
yes.
Back anyway.
book.
You can come every week. We're great with that.
I would love it.
We could add you to it, and it could just be the 3 of us.
There we go.
With Holli, Jeanna, and Lorie.
There we go.
We could do an in-person one. Are you guys in Florida? Is that where you're?
Well, no, we're in Seattle, and so we were just in California, so we missed you, but we're going to be back down soon. So, because you're in Cali, right?
Yeah, Northern California.
So we come see you next time. I mean,
oh, that'd be so fun. We'll do it.
Don't give Holli your address, because that becomes a whole other thing, and I have to do paperwork and restraining orders. Anyway, but just when we come, we'll let you know. You can let us know where a safe place is to meet you.
Oh, that would be so fun. I would love that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
It would be an honor.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a gift.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
All right, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks,
so much.
ladies.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Okay. Thank you.